I sat at the kitchen table staring at the divorce papers. My heart raced as I remembered the events leading up to this moment. Just a few months ago, I was hopeful and excited about my marriage. But now it felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I had sent the papers by mail, along with a note detailing my address. I had thought that by doing this, I could finally put an end to the turmoil that had taken over my life. Little did I know, they would track me down. "What do you mean?" my mother-in-law asked, her voice dripping with disbelief. I forced a smile, trying to mask my nerves. The tension in the air was thick, and I could feel my husband's eyes on me, searching for answers. "We heard that the recycling company came and took everything, the fridge, the TV, all of it." Her tone was accusatory, as if I had committed some grave offense. "Yes, of course," I replied, my voice steady. "I left that house behind with the divorce papers." The words came out more confidently than I felt. It was a huge step to take, and I was determined to see it through. "Why should I leave my belongings in a house I won't return to?" I calmly asked, staring directly at her. "What?" she exclaimed, her pompous demeanor faltering. "Were you not aware? The refrigerator, the TV, washing machine, and even the sofa you were using were all purchased by me." She raised an eyebrow, challenging my authority over the items. It was infuriating to hear her claim ownership of things I had bought with my own money. "Property acquired during marriage is considered joint property," she continued, folding her arms. "So those belong to my son as well. Why dispose of them without permission?" I could see my husband slowly hiding behind his mother, losing all color in his face. He was a shadow of the man I once loved. Still, there was no explanation from him. I sighed, feeling the weight of our history. Why does the man I once loved seem so small now? I wondered. The spark between us had faded, and the reality of our relationship was glaringly clear. "I purchased those household items with my personal funds before we got married," I said, determined to stand my ground. "Moreover, I'm not just selling the furniture. I'm currently in the process of selling the house as well." My statement dropped like a bombshell in the room. "What? What? What?" my in-laws exclaimed, exchanging shocked glances. Behind them, my sister-in-law Mandy stood frozen in disbelief. "Really? That house is under our son's name, right? There should be mortgage payments." Her words dripped with confusion. "I bought that house outright with my own money," I replied, my voice firm. I had always told my husband that we were paying for the house with a mortgage and the furniture with savings. It had been my way of protecting myself and preparing for the worst. When my husband, surprised, asked why I told such a lie, I simply shrugged. To care for my unemployed husband and in-laws. It was easier to pay in full from savings than to deal with monthly mortgage payments. Plus, I needed to have various strategies in place in case of persecution from them. I was relieved that I had planned ahead. "Did you really think I had made no plans before living with you?" I said with a hint of sarcasm. "Ah, for people who think 3 adults can live on $200 a month, this must be hard to understand." Their expressions shifted from shock to embarrassment. "I have friends in real estate, and another acquaintance interested in property management," I continued, feeling empowered. "I've been in touch with them, and we're moving along with the paperwork. You didn't notice because we didn't go through an agent, did you?" As I smiled sweetly, their faces paled further. My father-in-law, infuriated, confronted my husband. "Why didn't you tell us earlier?" he shouted, his voice rising with anger. My husband, tears in his eyes, could only whisper, "I'm sorry." He had always been submissive to his father's authority, which made me feel even more frustrated. In that moment, I felt good about filing for divorce. But what should I do about my married life? Mandy's naive question left my mother-in-law speechless. They were losing everything, and I could see it all unraveling before my eyes. "What will you do without me?" I asked, my tone sarcastic, as I watched them squirm. I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing I was finally taking control. With me gone, they would have to rely on a meager pension and insufficient retirement funds. My mother-in-law turned to her daughter and asked seriously, "How much does your future husband earn?" "He makes his living from slot machines," Mandy replied, her voice filled with pride. I couldn't help but laugh, watching the bewildered expressions on their faces. A professional slot player? It sounded absurd, but it was clear to me that their financial future was shaky at best. My mother-in-law, realizing the precarious situation they were in, turned to me. I'm sorry about the other day. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let's get along, she offered, a weak smile on her face. No, not at all, I said firmly. There was no misunderstanding. Our values just never aligned. I couldn't hold back my laughter as I watched her insist on reconciliation. What are you talking about? I replied, laughing loudly. Don't reject so quickly, she pleaded, her desperation palpable. There must have been some misunderstanding. I completely denied it. Are you planning to abandon the family? My father-in-law glared at me. I shot back. Wasn't it your wife who treated me as an outsider first? His silence spoke volumes. Just wait, my mother-in-law said, her voice raised. We once lived under the same roof. Yes, we did live together, and I took care of you, I replied, my tone icy. That's precisely why I can't live with you anymore. My husband, seeing the conversation turning against him, pleaded, Please reconsider. If you had been even a little bit more supportive, perhaps my feelings would have changed, but it's too late now, I said, dismissing his pleas casually. Difficulties are part of family life, my mother-in-law implored desperately. Mandy nodded in agreement, hoping for support through their troubles. Difficulties? I scoffed. If you call it that, why not try living in the park? Overcome those difficulties as a family without relying on an outsider like me. Their faces turned crimson as they realized I had turned their words against them. How cruel can you be? My mother-in-law cried. What will you do without me? How do you plan to live? I asked, and they fell silent. It was satisfying to watch their confidence crumble. As they grieved their impending loss, I felt a strange sense of freedom. I was about to start a new chapter in my life. But my mother-in-law wasn't done yet. It's truly unfortunate how things turned out. If only they had raised her to be independent, this wouldn't have happened. I thought back to my husband becoming a guarantor for a colleague's debt and clinging to a struggling company. This family's characteristics were starting to make sense to me. I couldn't resist throwing in one more jab. But I believe your worries are unfounded. There might be a possibility that your daughter's husband might have another lover. The family was shocked. What? They gasped, and I couldn't help but burst into laughter at their stunned expressions. Well, it's hard to say who since you change boyfriends so frequently, I continued, enjoying their discomfort. But if it's the recent one, he's been quite close with a woman living on the first floor of this apartment. Ha! They exclaimed, a classic case of the answer being right under their nose. On the day I moved in, I had seen Mandy's latest boyfriend, presumably her fiancé, visiting the woman living on the first floor, entering at night and leaving in the morning. Could be his sister or something, I mused, though I doubt it. Have you heard anything? Mandy fell silent, and her silence said it all. I can't believe I was deceived, she muttered, collapsing to her knees. Furious, she tried to contact him, but he hung up as soon as she explained the situation. I can't believe it. This is outrageous. Mandy exploded in anger, and my mother-in-law attempted to calm her, but Mandy's fury was unstoppable. As the family chaos unfolded, I secretly enjoyed the spectacle. So I've made my decision. I'll sign the divorce papers, okay, dear? I said to my husband, who had no response. I know you don't have much in assets, but you've set aside some savings for the worst-case scenario, right? I'll claim that in the division of property, I added, watching his face fall. He was stunned, but I smiled. That's only fair. I might have seemed like a devil to him, but this was merely justice. Forced to care for your parents, I had every right to seek compensation. I had the family and my husband move out of the house, and I started a new chapter in my life, feeling lighter. It felt liberating to let go of the past. Yet, as the reality of my decision settled in, I realized that the story was far from over. The tension in the air was still thick with unresolved feelings. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for the battles ahead. The divorce process would not be smooth, and I needed to brace myself for what was coming. As I packed my things, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that led me here. It had been filled with ups and downs, love and betrayal. And now, with my family on the brink of chaos, I felt a strange mix of relief and apprehension. The next few weeks would test my strength and resilience, but I was ready to face whatever came next. Little did I know, my mother-in-law had other plans. She wasn't going to let me walk away without a fight.